When I was a Women of Influence recipient, the question was, what would you tell your younger self? And a lot of times we look beyond ourselves. We look at, how can I make myself better? Or I'm not good enough, or I'm not thin enough, or I'm not pretty enough, whatever it is, all the not enoughs. Looking in the mirror at myself and telling my younger self that you are enough.
Welcome to Women's $1 Million Conversations with Alice Tang, where we share stories from successful businesswomen who have saved, earned, or sold over $1 million and discuss how they built their success and insights to help you achieve your goals. Now, let's join the conversation.
Good morning, I'm Alice Tang in Oregon, the host of Women's $1 Million Conversation. Today, my heart warms up when I know that Lisa Fajardo Faust, my good friend in the community, is my guest for $1 Million Conversation for Women. And Lisa is the Chief Banking Officer of Pacific West Bank. She has tons of history in the banking world, and she's going to tell you a little bit more before we dive into the drooling questions for money and empowerment. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you.
So would you tell us a little bit about yourself, your position, your bank?
Absolutely. So yes, I'm Lisa Fajardo Faust. I am the Executive Vice President, Chief Banking Officer here at Pacific West Bank. I've made banking my career over the last 30 years and primarily focusing on the community banking environment in the last 20 years. And it's been incredibly rewarding being able to walk alongside clients in our community, nonprofit organizations, social impact groups, and know that I've somehow played a little part in helping them with their mission or their goals. So as a banker here at Pacific West Bank, we are locally headquartered, and so we take a lot of great pride in working with locally owned businesses. I really admire the work of our nonprofit and social impact organizations here around Portland.
Awesome. I know you're very active in our community.
Yes.
That's probably the reason how we met many years ago.
I think so. Yeah.
It's a privilege to ask you many questions. And the first one, because this is Women's $1 Million Conversation, what's your value for money?
I really thought about this question because to me, when I think about the value of money, of course, security for my family, but I learned early in life that money provides for a community, meaning that I saw my family, my parents support others, whether it was others in the Cuban community, because my family is Cuban, they came from Cuba in the early 60s, or seeing them give their resources, their treasure to the community that they lived in. They had a passion for serving organizations in service to youth. And so to me, value of money is not necessarily what I can put in my bank account every day, but how my contribution can help impact those around me.
I have goosebumps over the goosebumps that I was listening to you. In our prep meeting, we have decided the track that we're going, because otherwise we'd be spending 3 hours talking about things that we both are passionate about.
Exactly.
So we will be staying focused on the third track, is like sold $1 million later on. So from that specific premise,
Sure.
how long does it take for you to get to that million? Tell us a little bit about the story, if there is any story behind it. And what's the bias that you ran into, if any?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. There's quite a few, actually. I do remember, it's a fun memory for me because I spent the first part of my career in banking more on the internal operations side of the world. And at a certain point, I recognized that my value was really building relationships with people in the community. And those relationships led to new clients and opportunity. My kind of like my first attempt, if you will, at this type of new role, bringing in relationships to the bank. I had a really wonderful colleague who was a wonderful peer mentor for me. And she was encouraging me and guiding me. And I remember getting the yes from a new client, a nonprofit medical association. And I went to their office to complete the paperwork and to pick up a check to come to the bank. This was before a lot of electronic banking. It was a while ago. And I remember getting in my car and I had $1 million check in my hand. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I call my colleague, you're not going to believe what I'm holding right now. It was just the thrill of that $1 million mark because it wasn't a constant. It wasn't something that you came across all the time. So for me, in the right role, it didn't take long, but I had many years of cultivating, some local relationships, but also wonderful mentors, especially this peer mentor who really helped shape me to understand how to get there. In the banking world, on the lending side of banking, $1 million could be done easily on the loan side, especially when you're talking with nonprofit organizations. $1 million is very significant for the operations
That's
of an
right.
organization. So to be able to bring in those dollars into the bank and be successful in that way was just so gratifying. And it encouraged me to continue. When I found that from a bias standpoint, I think my age and my gender were big. Sometimes I think even the fact that I'm Latina was also a bias, especially working in traditional commercial company type of environment. The nonprofit sector is always incredibly welcoming. I've found that to be the desired sector for me over the years, and that's where I did a lot of my focus. And it was just a much more comfortable place for me to be personally from that bias standpoint.
I see. Well, I hear a lot of gratefulness. Before we recorded, we talked about being humble. You're one of the most humble person
Oh,
I've never met. And of course, we stand on shoulders of those who
yes,
coach us, mentor us, or even willing to spend some time with us,
absolutely.
pushing our career.
Mhm.
And I feel that you and I on the same track that we would like to send back the elevator so that to pull
Yes,
those up.
absolutely. My experience with mentorship, especially in the financial industry sector, was not positive. Women leaders rarely mentored. I don't want to classify this as a generality, but in my personal experience, the women leaders that I grew up with did not want me to be successful.
Oh my God.
Many, many times it was holding me down. For their success, they needed to hold someone down. That rising young leader was held down. And so finally I broke through that, luckily through a couple different people in my career. And I make it my mission now that anyone that reports to me, anyone that I can mentor, the first thing I say to them is, what are your goals and aspirations and how can I help you get there? My success is to see them flourish and move beyond me and be that shining star. That's how I feel my success. That's how I see it. I could never keep someone or hold someone back just for my own protection. And so I just make it a point to mentor. Like you were saying, it's like, how do we bring up the next level of leader in our community? And that's what I want to focus on. Having the ability to be part of mentoring roundtables for any young person or any person that wants mentorship. I gravitate to those opportunities because I just really want to lift people up.
So good to hear that. As you know, I tend to have goosebumps as you're talking about it. So I thought about two things. Immigrant here, I mean, still the color is different.
Yeah.
And I learned about 10 years ago, 5 years ago, about something called a zero-sum game,
Mhm, mhm,
which is the scarcity mindset. If somebody get more, I'll get less. Actually, let's
mhm.
expand the pie. The pie could be bigger. Let's all push boundaries, push it. And the top is flat. It's not for one person. It's not a
Mhm,
triangle anymore. It's
mhm.
flat.
Agreed, 100%. The scarcity mentality runs deep, I think, in my industry. And yeah, I want to break that. I want to break that mold.
Let's do that together. Let's
Yes,
do that together.
exactly.
When you're making a decision, everybody make decision differently. What's your process?
I think for me, I look at the impact. So, what is the impact of my decision? How is that impact going to affect those around me? whether it's a positive decision or a neutral decision, if we have to make a decision regarding something that might be a little more hard to take, a little more negative. I really look at it from the lens of how is my messaging going to impact the person in front of me or the situation? And that helps guide me because I always want to make sure that everything that I do, every decision that I make, that I do it with the utmost integrity and with compassion. I try to lead with that compassion, integrity, love in everything I do. And so that's really what guides me.
Very good. Let compassion guide you.
Yeah.
And making decision with integrity.
Mhm. Right.
Now, we're not going to talk about age, but which we will, because people would know when you say
We're
you
there.
spent 30 years somewhere. It's like,
Yeah.
let me calculate when you graduate
Right.
from college.
Exactly.
But the amount of career, number of
Mhm.
years while you're building to your current Lisa,
Mhm.
there are time, maybe one time or two, that you feel that, oh God, this is so difficult.
Yeah,
What kept you going?
absolutely. There were moments in time where I felt like I was just banging my head against the ceiling or against a wall, like that door wasn't opening, and I just didn't understand it. And I try to do everything in my power to either do better, be better, ways to learn, to expand my knowledge. And it was difficult. I would tend to look internally, like, what have I done wrong? Where can I improve? And I finally realized it's not about me, it's about others around me. And so I gave myself permission to look for other opportunities because I'm very loyal and I'm very loyal to people, loyal to company. You know, if a company is good to me, I'm going to reciprocate with that, with my loyalty for that. And I didn't realize that this is what I did at the time. Like when I left my former employer and came to Pacific West Bank, and I've been here for a little over 6 years now. But giving myself permission to do that was huge. And that's something that I learned recently is the ability to, when you make decisions like that, you're giving yourself permission. And I guess I never really thought about it in that way. When I had opportunity in front of me, I always thought of the other first, not myself. And now I'm like, oh no, I'm giving myself permission to do what's best for me, and still be, a contributing member of wherever I'm at and whatever community I'm in. But yeah, it's being able to see what's in front of you and what those barriers are. And if you're not the barrier and something or someone else is, give yourself permission to walk away.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's wonderful. I think you and I are somewhat similar in that sense. When something went wrong, I always go inside and ask, what did I do? Or what should I have done and I did not?
Mhm.
And sometimes I see blood on the wall,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I'm still trying to go through the brick wall where
Yeah,
the wall is not me.
right.
Like you said, the barrier is not me.
Yeah.
So I guess there is a lot of internal work that I
Mhm.
personally did.
Mhm.
The fearful of getting out of it is real at the
Yes.
time because I can only think about fear.
Mhm.
The opposite of fear I just recently learned is self-love.
We need more of that, don't we?
Yeah, permission, like you said, giving
Absolutely.
yourself permission,
Mhm.
walk away and charter a new life, a new place, a new opportunity,
And
help
it's
more people,
difficult.
mentor more people.
Yeah, it's scary, right? I mean, to be able to give yourself permission to change or to walk away or to think of something new, it's not easy. There's so much more that can hold you back from taking that chance, from taking that leap. But being able to be in that moment and say, no, I'm going to take this leap. I'm going to take this chance. I'm going to give myself permission to walk through that door. It life changing. It could be life changing.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. There's many people who look at you, can relate to you. What's the one piece of advice among all the advice you have given, maybe millions of, what's the number one piece of advice you would give them so that they can look to you and say, I can be a Lisa This is the tip she gave me.
I would, and looking back at myself, like what advice would I give my younger self? I was asked that question when I was a Women of Influence recipient. The question was, what would you tell your younger self? And a lot of times we look beyond ourselves. We look at, how can I make myself better? Or I'm not good enough, or I'm not thin enough, or I'm not pretty enough, whatever it is, all the not enoughs. Looking in the mirror at myself and telling my younger self that you are enough.
You are enough. Thank you, Lisa. I am enough because you said so. That's the ripple effect. Because when you give yourself the permission to shine and say it out loud, I feel.
Excuse me.
Me too. I mean,
I
I've
found in
never
my
been this much
I
emotional.
know. I found in my older age, as we talked about, how old, I've been in banking 30 years. I'm at that age. I am just, yeah, just being able to be myself.
Lisa, we're winding down to a couple of questions in
Yeah.
our interview. And one of the things I think the audience would really like to know is either a very good quote from you that you live by, a book that you're reading, or a piece of very good or bad advice that have made the biggest impact in your life. So whichever one you want to give us.
Okay, thank you. Well, I recently picked up a signed copy of Sherry Dunn's book, Qualified, and I'm really excited to dive into Sherry's book. I was at a private reading that she gave, and she talked about this chapter that she talked about imposter syndrome and how we need to dismantle that word. So I'm really excited about that. I think that it's going to be super impactful for me moving forward. And then a quote, I think what's kind of fun is there's a quote that sometimes I have to tell myself, which is, let me just adjust my crown and then I'm going to start my day, right? I need to adjust that crown on my head and keep going. So that is definitely something that I have enjoyed thinking of when I need that inspiration. It's like, make sure your crown is straight, and others too,
Oh, oh,
straighten others people's crowns as you go through life.
let me just adjust my crown and
Yes,
let me just help you to do this little tweak.
exactly.
Now
That's
you're ready
right.
to go on the stage, own the podium and the
Yes,
audience.
exactly.
What are you grateful for today, Lisa?
Oh, I'm so grateful for first my family. We are blessed with a 3-year-old granddaughter, and she fills my heart. And I see a lot of myself. It's funny to say, as her grandmother, I see a lot of myself in her, but she's feisty, she's spicy, she's curious, she's smart. And I'm like, please hang on to that forever, for all of your life. So I'm just really excited and grateful for my family, the love that surrounds me and the love I can give. And then most importantly, help her to be the version she wants to be of herself.
Very good, very good. We started with humble and grace. We talk about I'm enough and
Yeah.
pulling women up. Let those people who being mentored by
Mhm.
you surpass you. Your job is to help them.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh gosh, so much
Yeah.
joy and an empowerment for our community. Thank you, Lisa, for taking time this morning.
Thank you, Alice, for the opportunity.